right, Ant. Appreciate that. And it's been great to watch you grow in this program, and I guarantee you've given me much more than I could ever hope to give you over this time. So thanks a lot, guys, for having me out to speak. Amazing, man. So 107 participants I'm seeing on the screen. And Anthony said that you guys get a lot of new people. And it was just amazing to see all the people that are counting days and starting their journey. I love speaking at meetings when there's a lot of new people, because I'm able to reflect back on how I felt, man, those first 30, 60, 90 days, and I just wanted to die. And I give you guys such credit in the beginning, to just, it's so great that you guys have this meeting here and the young people stuff. My sobriety date is October 4th, 2014. I was 26 when I got sober, so I'd like to think I was a little young then, and still clinging on to the idea that I might be a little young now still. But I'll tell you a little bit about what it was like, what happened, what it's like now, and hopefully just a little message of hope for anybody new, because when I came in, man, I just could not. I would sit in the back of the room, man, head down in my head in my hands, man, just like shaking my head, trying to figure out how. I just couldn't even fathom how life could change, or what was good. I didn't even know where to start, or how. I just couldn't even think straight. And so I just hope to give you guys a little hope, anybody that's new. So growing up wasn't anything spectacular, regular childhood stuff. I can remember early memories of always, and this is kind of cliche, a lot of people say, like, didn't feel comfortable in their own skin. That was definitely me. Always just, it was just uncomfortable around people that talk about like restless, irritable discontent. And that was a feeling like I didn't know I had it then, but looking back, like from as early as 5 years old, I could have used a drink. And I remember, I guess I was about 14 when I started experimenting with some substances and alcohol. And I remember the first day that, I had alcohol or another substance at this time it was, and just for the first time in 14 years, it was just peace came over me. And I remember everything about that day, and it just the chatter stopped for once. I was walking the street. I could talk to somebody. I didn't have this constant filter of what is this person thinking of me? What is the next thing I'm going to say? What is it? All these fears, thoughts, worries, all this insecurity, this selfish me, and it just stopped. And I was just present in the moment, and I fell in love right away. I said I thought I found the answer to life, and that this is what I was missing out on. And I chased that for a while. For, like I said, it was a substance in the beginning, but turned into alcohol, and I'll try to keep it on alcohol. But so, like I said, I thought I found the answer to life. I thought this is what I was missing, and that restlessness, that irritability, that discontent feeling, that like what I call like almost like existential pain. Like I just didn't know what it was. I could never put into words what it was that I was feeling, but it was just there, and it wasn't there when I drank. And so I fell in love. I thought I found the answer, and I chased that hard for about 2 or 3 years, and slowly my life, I just burned it to the ground. It went, to inside police stations, to psychiatric wards, hospitals, being strapped down to tables, all detoxes, and my life just transformed in really like 18 months. It just went upside down, and everything that, all that was important to me was getting that next drink. It did not matter. And it was just such a lonely spot. I didn't know that for such a long time, and why I have such profound respect for like people that do those H&I commitments. They bring in the meetings to hospitals, institutions, or rehabs. I was like 17, I guess, at the time in one of my rehabs, and again, a couple of days sober and just wanting to die. And they brought in a commitment, and the guys came popping in, and they were kind of, smiling, laughing. We all looked like death in there, and nobody was smiling inside that facility. And they came in, introduced themselves as addicts or alcoholics, whatever it was. And they talked about their story and, what it was like for them, what had happened, and what it was like now. And I was able to identify in that moment and start to understand, because for up until that time, I just thought nobody, I would try to explain to my parents or to friends or something. It's like, you just don't like, alcohol makes me feel better. I feel all right when I'm drunk. When I'm drinking, I feel okay. Like, you don't get it. Like, it's when I'm not drinking that the problems really, or, obviously the drinking's causing a problem, but the drinking, it's making me feel okay. It's when I stop drinking that I really can't handle life. And people didn't seem to understand that. And, these people shared about their stories and their feelings and stuff. And I realized for the first time that I wasn't alone. And I heard these people, it was evident, clear. I could look on their faces, they were just carrying themselves. For me, I think, people have a aura about the presentation. You can kind of see how somebody's feeling, or how, and they looked light, they looked happy, they were talking about, and it was clear that, they knew the game. They were talking about how they lived, how they felt, how they drank, and I could identify with all that. And it put a little spark of hope in me that there was a solution, that there might be a solution or something to help me out with this thing. And so I bounced around still to a couple of the rehabs and everything. And I found another 12-step fellowship, and I was attending that for a little bit. And I was able to stop it again. At this point, it was pretty much substance use. And I was able to stop the substances for a period of time. And I put together about 18 months from the age of like 19 to 20 and a half. And during that time, life got better. I didn't really do much step work. It was mostly just kind of fellowship. And my thing had always been, drinking wasn't such an issue up to that point, that I thought that there was a big difference between, substances. And I thought that, I was going to be turning 21 soon, and that alcohol would be okay to drink. And I thought about it. If it wasn't like a split second decision, I didn't talk about it with some people, and started drinking. And can't say, my life didn't burn to the ground right away by any means, but I can say, like, that very first night when I started drinking, it was immediate, right from the get. I started counting those drinks and drinking. I talk about in the book about like the rough point of it, like the essential reason that men and women drink is they like the effect produced by alcohol. That's why I drink. I never, even that very first night going back to drinking, was just counting the beers to hit that sweet. Where did I get to like 3 or 4, and that sweet spot starts to kick in again. That piece starts to swell in. And I've come to find, like, they talk about normal drinkers, or even, some hard drinkers, they don't drink like that. That's not how they drink. And that unfortunately is how I drink. I drink for effect. I drink to change how I feel, and to quiet down that angst inside of me, and to feel apart. And that's usually a recipe for alcoholism. So drinking went on for a while. It was a very slow progression for me with the alcohol, from 20 years old, 21, till about 26. I guess it's 5 years, but relatively slow in regards to the other substance. But again, this alcohol did to me again what the other substance had done. Slowly over time, the drinking became, because I was able to hide the drinking pretty well at 22, 23 years old. It's okay. You come home banged up after a night out or something. People can kind of attribute that to young drinking, and was able to kind of fly under the radar a little bit with that. But even I had a suspicion that, the drinking that I was doing wasn't normal, the way I was drinking. And it got to be where I stopped even, going out so much to drink socially. It was more important. I'd rather just the drinking got to be more isolated. And then from the drinking, then just all of that, it was definitely internal pain that was the big motivator. Life was all right. And on the outside, alcohol didn't burn my life to the ground the way the substances did. And I was able to put together a pretty decent life, by outside appearances. I'd gone back to school. I got a bachelor's degree, and I had a easy job at like a family friend's restaurant, and making decent money. And so it allowed me to drink the way I wanted to, but it was just an empty shell of a life. It was just wake up, it was drink at night. So I passed out, get up in the morning, Parkway, highway to the restaurant, sit in there for 12, 13 hours, drink some of the days, whatever, go to the liquor store, go home, drink. And it was just just miserable. I don't really have any exciting drunkalog stories. I was just really lonely, depressive drinking. And I was just in a meeting earlier today when the guy, he shared about his sober day. He said like such and such a date, and he said that was the date that God separated me from alcohol. And I like that because I like to sometimes like think back on the day that I got sober and wonder like, why was it that day? Could it have been 5 days sooner or a year sooner or something? And I can't take any credit for really for October 4th, 2014. I like the idea of God separated me from alcohol on that day. That night before, I was drinking just like any other night. Nothing spectacular happened. I've been wanting to kind of stop for a while, but just that torment and just kind of shaking my head, like just sitting on the edge of the bed with a bottle, just shaking my head, like just not knowing, just that desperation, that isolation, that loneliness, all those feelings that everybody in this room know. If anybody's on a 9:30 meeting right now on a Monday night, you guys know the feeling that I'm talking about. And it was all there. And I just knew that I'd seen the 12-step fellowship work in the past for people and even for me for a period of time. And the idea was always in the back of my head to go to AA. And I did. A couple of days later, I popped my head into a meeting, and I had gone to a few in the past couple months before that time. But this time, for whatever reason, when I went in that day, I raised my hand, said, I was new, and I couldn't stop drinking. And for whatever reason, inside those meetings, man, usually the first 15 minutes or so, I was still pretty jittery. But between like the minutes 15 to the almost the end of the meeting or something, just a little bit of a peace came over me, just a little peace where I felt safe. I felt like I'd be all right. And I just wanted that. They talk about that merciless obsession to drink, to go away. I just couldn't. I hadn't been able. It'd been years probably since I went 5 minutes without the thought of a drink. At least the next one. How am I going to recover from this one? Just everything was revolved around drinking, and I couldn't believe that alcohol. I understood how I could be that obsessed over the substance that it was, but with alcohol, I couldn't believe that alcohol did this to me. And that same feeling, driving home from work at the end of the night, saying, I'm not going to drink. I'm so exhausted. I got a big day tomorrow. I can't be hungover. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm almost home. I'm 2 lights away. And I turn the car, I go down to the road for the liquor store. And I always thought, I guess I just changed my mind in that moment. I guess I just decided that I'm going to drink tonight. And I don't, the choice for me was lost. There was no conscious decision that I'm going to decide. I had lost at that point the decision to whether or not I was going to drink. It's a tough spot to be in, to be controlled by something like that. And it was scary. And I came in, I was very fortunate at the beginning. The obsession to drink was lifted relatively quickly for me. Like I said, the first 30, 60, 90 days, I just wanted to die. I could not understand now. For me, I had this one solution, that one thing that in life was making me feel a little bit better, and that was alcohol. And now I take that away, and now I feel these feelings it's all there. And I not so much have an alcohol problem. I have a living problem. I have a problem with just being with me, being in society. They talk about the spiritual malady of this disease of alcoholism, restlessness, irritability, discontent. This is where I start to get worse, not better at the beginning, where I thought that it's just alcohol. My life's in pretty good shape on the outside. I just licked the drink in and I should be good to go. And it was not that way. I was forced to really deal with some of this internal stuff that was going on. And thank God for, good sponsorship and steps and this program. It's a beautiful thing to see this many people, young people, getting together and starting this journey. They talk about another cliche thing when they're like, write down, your greatest dreams or something, and you'll have sold yourself short, and that. Just the other day, I was going through a lockbox with some stuff, and I came across, I had done that. I wrote down some of the stuff when I first came in, and really all but the Mercedes S-Class has already been achieved. And it wasn't material things so much on that list, but things that, to hold a relationship, to have a home, to find a career that I was fulfilled in, I went back to school and finishing up a graduate degree in May that I went back for. And I said, you know, that's not me. I don't take credit for that's not. When I came into this program, I was afraid to go into a 7-Eleven, to a convenience store to get a glass of wood, to get a bottle of water. So I was rehearsing in my head how I was going to say hello to the cashier. I mean, I was that self-consumed and just stuck in fear and that self-obsession and all that stuff. And so more than even like, I like to think of this program as like a program of subtraction. I just little by little and slowly over time, my recovery is, it's come to me slow, and I never see it as it's happening. I see it when I look back. I can look back 6 months ago where I see the hand of God in AA, and when I look back, and it's almost always, it's through, you know, other people. It's through people in my network. It's through God. I find he uses other people. You know, Anthony, I've had the pleasure to watch him grow in this program, and to see, because I can't always see the change happening in me or what's going on with me. Very seldom actually do I see it happening in me, but I can very easily see it in other people. And I you know, through sponsor, I've had the pleasure of sponsoring other guys, and to see them come in, their life in shambles, and just, you know, one guy said, you know, I don't want to hear a damn thing about God or the Bible or anything. Nothing. No problem. No, you know, go through the book. It's fine. I get it. And you know, just asked him, you know, do you believe that maybe I believe it in a way? He said, yeah. Just I asked him to keep an open mind, and to watch this man's life transform inexplicably. You just, logic can't explain why this man's life transformed. His life was in the gutter, and I really didn't see any hope for this guy. But, you know, just took him through the steps, and I like to think that hopefully I helped him clear away some of the stuff that was blocking him from whatever was, you know, keep in the way of his higher power and his journey. And he's gotten rid of that, and his life is just transformed. The relationships with family and with friends and jobs and just miraculous stuff. And that's what is such a beautiful thing, to have a front row seat to real miracles in this program, and why I'm so grateful for it. And to see just young people, man, I was, kid you know, I started to like tear up when I saw all those people putting their dates in there. I see the guy, I don't know where they went, but the Haven, I think it was. I saw a bunch of the guys, like, just to see. It's just amazing to think of like what is to come as anybody goes through this process. And just my suggestion would be just, you know, simple program, not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but simple. You know, the directions are laid out. Get a sponsor, get somebody that you respect and that you know, you feel like they're doing the right thing. And just for me, it's just I finally decided to stop running the show all on my own, and just that maybe I didn't have all the answers, and to try to take direction from somebody else. I got a great group, a network of great guys in my life that I run, you know, that are up to date and current on my life, and I can they can tell me when I'm off, or when I'm, you know, can call me out on certain things. And it's just, I'm not alone anymore. That's the one thing I know. I've gone through some tough days in sobriety, and like always, I just know that it passes. Most important thing for me, thank God, you know, not a drinker or a drug man, because that's pain that I just, you know, just don't want to experience. That's the only thing that I could find that seems like hopeless to me. Anything else I've seen overcome, and I've seen it either myself or other people in AA, where they overcome deaths in the family or most crazy tragedies in their life. People overcome it. And it's been an amazing program. And the speaker earlier tonight, he talked about like the program God led him to the program he believed, and then the 12 steps in the program, you know, led him back to God. And I think it was some power greater than myself that separated me from alcohol in the beginning. And then this program slowly over time has allowed me to become aware and slowly get into my own way of getting into contact with that power and using that power in my life. And it's really just been an amazing process. God bless anybody starting out. I hope you stay. And Anthony, thank you very much for having me.